Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're exploring a deeply fascinating concept drawn from ancient Tantric and Vedic traditions. It proposes a secret that is honestly kind of mind-bending, that the spoken language we use every single day is just the final stage of a massive cosmic process of creation. We're going to look at how a simple, fleeting thought literally creates reality.
So, think about it for a second. Have you ever stopped to wonder where your words actually originate before they even leave your mouth? We tend to think of speech as just a physical act, moving breath and manipulating vocal cords. But what if the words you speak are actually just the very tip of a consciousness iceberg?
Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with the origin of words, then move through Pura, the supreme word, Pashyanti, the seeing word, Madhyama, the inner mind, Vaikari, the spoken reality, and finally wrap up with the power of truth. Let's dive right in.
Section 1. The Origin of Words. Exploring the ancient Vedic view of sound.
To really grasp this, we've got to look back to the Rig Veda and the ancient Vedic system. They viewed sound vibration not just as communication, but as the literal engine of creation itself. Look at this profound quote. The word has been measured in 4 quarters. In the hidden place, the 3 are established which do not move, and the 4th one, men speak. This brilliantly illustrates that the stuff we actually say out loud, it's just 1/4 of the process. The other 3 quarters are hidden way deep down within our mind and pure consciousness.
It works exactly like a cosmic funnel, stepping down sequentially from supreme consciousness all the way to the physical word. We start at Paravak, drop down to Pashyanti Vak, then Madhyama Vak, and finally hit Vaikari Vak at the bottom.
Which brings us to Section 2, Para, the supreme word, the transcendental foundation of reality.
Okay, so at the very top of our funnel, we have Paravak. This is the transcendental word. It's identical with pure consciousness, or Sit, and it literally carries the entire cosmic manifestation inside it, without any differentiation whatsoever. So the absolute crucial point here is that Para is ever present everywhere. According to the philosopher Abhinavagupta, it consists of both the pure light of consciousness, known as Prakasha, and pure power, known as Vimarsha. At this ultimate level, everything is held in a pure potential state. There is absolutely no separation yet between an object and the word you'd use to describe it. They are perfectly unified.
Moving down to Section 3, Pashyanti, the seeing word. This is the spark of intention.
Now, obviously, creation needs some movement, right? So we step down a level into Pashyanti Vak, the seeing word. This is a transition state of intention and will, known as Icha. It's that precise moment where the knower first decides they want to know or express something, even though the subject and object are still pretty much unified. What's super interesting here is how Abhinavagupta describes the trigger for this stage. He says it's sparked by a deep inner dissatisfaction, or an aspiration basically calling for an action to take place. The power of consciousness essentially says, hey, this should be seen. It's this flash of intuition demanding to be realized.
To visualize how this intention actually plays out practically, think of it like nesting dolls. Say your immediate spoken desire is, I close the door. Well, that's just a tiny, smaller Pashyanti. It's driven by a slightly bigger will. I leave my house. But why are you leaving the house? Because of a main will, a Maha Pashyanti. I go to the village. And why go there? Because of an even bigger intention. I need food for tomorrow. So every single little intention we have is ultimately hooked into a much grander cosmic drive from above.
Next up is Section 4, Madhyama Matha, the inner mind, the structural formulation of thought. As we continue down the funnel, we hit Madhyama Vak. This is the mediating level. This is where abstract language finally starts to take structural shape, unfolding into distinct mental categories and grammar. It's our inner mental reality where a massive split happens.
the split between the thing being signified and the signifier, the actual mental word you're assigning to it. So our subjective I-ness, ahanta, and the objective thisness, idanta, start formulating into the literal syntax of a sentence right inside our heads, right before we actually open our mouths to speak. It's the structural blueprint of our thoughts.
Section 5. Vaikri, the spoken reality, the final expression in time and space. And finally, boom, Vaikari Vak, the intention and mental grammar burst right out into the physical world. This is the manifestation of speech using physical phonemes, words, and sentences. It is the absolute completion of the whole para process. This is the actual physical sound we hear. Ancient texts describe this moment so perfectly. They say once a word is spoken, it's exactly like a bird flying right out of your mouth. You simply cannot catch it and you can't undo it. And remember, this physical sound relies entirely on the vital energy, the mental vibration, and the supreme vision from all those higher levels that created it.
If we look closely at this visual, we can really anchor how this divergence of meaning in words actually works. Notice how subjective experience, ahanta, and objective reality, idanta, are perfectly united up at the top in para. But follow that journey downward. By the time we hit the bottom, in the Vaikari stage, they literally cross and split completely apart into physical objects and physical words. A very distinct gap has now been created between reality and language.
And honestly, this is where it gets brilliantly fascinating. Look at how perfectly these ancient tantric teachings map directly onto modern linguistics. The Pashyanti level matches semantics, our creative intentions and will. The Madhyama level matches syntactics, our cognitive grammar and knowledge. And the Vaikari level matches pragmatics, our physical communication and action. It is just absolutely astounding that concepts cooked up thousands of years ago directly mirror the foundational branches of modern semiotics today. Which leads us to our final part, Section 6, the power of truth, aligning inner intention with spoken reality.
Because our physical words and our physical reality are quite literally created by the exact same consciousness vibration, a really fascinating phenomenon occurs. Like we just saw, down at the bottom level of physical words, there's that gap between language and reality. And that gap means we have the ability to misplace words, right? We can distort, we can exaggerate, or we can flat out lie. So the absolute crucial takeaway here is that when your spoken words perfectly match what is truly within you, with zero distortion or ego-driven exaggeration, you actively eliminate that gap between reality and speech. You are aligning your outer words with your inner cosmic intention.
This brings us to what's known as the effectuation of truth. When we lie or even just exaggerate a little bit to look better, we create this gap. And that gap becomes a heavy burden that literally clogs our vital energy, just because we constantly have to manage those false realities we've spun. But true, pure sincerity perfectly aligns Vaikari, your spoken word, with para, the supreme consciousness. By staying completely truthful, you drop that heavy burden entirely. You become a pure instrument. And the text suggests that over time, this pure alignment gives your speech a tremendous power of effectuation, meaning your spoken words literally begin to shape and manifest physical reality.
It's a completely mind-blowing way to view our everyday conversations, isn't it? So to wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with this one thought to ponder. If every single word you utter is just the very tip of a vast cosmic funnel, how are you going to wield your power of creation? What reality are you creating with the words you choose to speak today? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating topic with me.